Hello, today we'll be presenting on JSON columns in MySQL. So today we're presenting on what's a JSON column in MySQL, some of the functions you can make on a JSON columns, and examples of implementing JSON functions in MySQL. So what are JSON columns? JSON is an acronym for JavaScript Object Notation. It's a file format that allows human-readable text into usable data objects consisting of arrays and attribute value pair types. This file format is completely language independent. You don't need JavaScript. So, benefits of using JSON columns. It's optimized data storage format, allows for quick read access, and you have document validation, so you don't have to worry about the inputs, therefore they'll be well formatted after you create them. Now, for disadvantages, you can't have default values, you cannot use the JSON columns for primary keys or as foreign keys. All the data that is created into a JSON format needs to be well formatted beforehand, before you can create the column.
Now we're going to talk about a couple of the JSON functions you can call if you want to modify or delete or create JSON objects. These are functions that if you want to modify, create a JSON object, or modify the data inside, these are the functions you'll be using. So to create an object, you would call JSON object. They have JSON arrays as well. To remove JSON object, you just call JSON remove. And here the insert, replace, and set functions. There are some details on what will happen. For example, if the property set will only work if the property is not found, or it will replace it if there is a property of the same name. Replace is also there, so you can only call that when it substitutes a property that exists already. And insert will add the property only if it's not found. And if you want the complete list of different functions you can call, please refer to this link right here. Now we'll talk about an example where we create a JSON column in a table, and this one in specific is tracking website visitors. So this first part is just the overall structure of creating a JSON column. As you can see, we're creating a table, and we have different code above and below as needed. And for the column where we want the type to be JSON, we'll have the column name, and then next to it, JSON as the type. So if we look at the second part here, we're creating a table called events where we have some standard attributes, and the last two attributes are JSON type, properties, and browser. So here we're inserting data into the table events to these four attributes here. As you might recall, event name and visitor are not JSON column types, whereas properties and browser are. So here we have page view, which is a string, and for visitor we have an integer. And for properties and browser, we have our JSON types, and this is the format that JSON columns come in. So ensure that when you're putting in these data types, you're adhering to the JSON format. Now to pull data from a JSON column, it's quite simple. You just have to use the column path operator, which is a dash and an arrow, or you can also use the inline path operator, which is a dash and two arrows, as you can see here. So this is just selecting ID and browser and the name of the browser from events, and just the two different arrow types can both be used. And here are references for the slideshow.